Welcome to a brand new year, and I'm going to share with you my 3 really simple minimalist tips to kickstart this year and get ready for 2022 in less than an hour, so stick around. Hello, beautiful community, and welcome back to Simple Essentials. If you are new to the channel, my name is Emmy, and I share content to help you simplify your life in as many ways as possible. We do a bit of meal planning, we do a bit of organization and declutter at home. And in today's video, I actually wanted to share with you a 3-step method to set yourself up for success in the year to come. It doesn't really matter what time of year you watch this. I know that it's January 2022 as I film this. I'm gonna have to get used to saying 2022. It still feels weird. Anyway, so I wanted to share with you 3 simple things that I do at the start of every year, and it can really help you simplify your life in lots and lots of ways. And if you were to sit down and do all these 3 things that I'm going to share with you now and take your time with it, it would probably take you about an hour. And I think 1 hour of effort is not too bad to set yourself up for the year to come. So let me start with the very first step that I do every year. Okay friends, you saw me do this in January last year. I will link the video up here and down below if you haven't seen it already, but I take my little notebook and I set a theme every year. So I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions. I'm a firm believer in goal setting. And you'll see that I'm actually in my exercise gear, which is related to this step. So the theme in my world for 2022, I do it quite simply. I take my handy notebook and I simply write down what I want the theme to be. Now, 2022 was a bit tricky in many ways, and I think I was not the only one who had, mental health challenges and other things due to lockdowns and stuff like that. But this year, I'm going to be focusing on health and well-being. Previous years, I've focused on finances for quite a few years, which was really effective, and I really turned my personal financial situation around as a thank you to that. And last year I focused on self-love. If you check out the video that I'll link below, you can see some of my categories that I've focused on there. Now, it was pretty efficient, I will say. Like, I was checking in with myself and I was actively trying to do self-love. At times it was really difficult though because of lockdowns and things. But the very first thing to do if you want to set up a theme, like I said, is that you pick your theme for the year. So in my case, it's health and well-being this year. And then you pick your subcategories. And I normally recommend 3 subcategories. It's pretty handy. So for me, the 3 things, which is how will I know that I'm focusing on health and well-being? First one being movement and exercise. Second one being food and drink, basically the fuel I put into my body. And the third one being rest and mental health. And how I kind of use this is just as a really basic reminder or checklist, whether you look at this daily or weekly, it's a really great way to look at it and assess and go, how did I fare with my 3 categories? Did I do really well with movement and exercise, but not so well with food this week, etc.? So setting a theme can be a mind-blowing thing because that way, keeping it simple, you've got one thing that you always come back to. Have I focused on health and well-being? So that's going to be my guiding light. And for those of you wondering, Emmy, are you going to check that every day? Are you going to tick them off against the list every day? No, I won't. I'm a firm believer that doing the right thing or the best thing for you and your family 80% of the time gets you a really long way. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be 100%, but 80% of my time, my week, my energy will be spent on making sure that I'm looking after myself, because otherwise I don't have a whole lot to give to other people either. The second thing I recommend that you do at this point in the year is to make your budget for the year to come. If you don't currently use a budget and you find it really daunting, you don't know where to start, I'm going to link a totally free template that I've created for you that you can download below, as well as the video that I did about how to set up your budget. Video is about 20 minutes long, but it basically takes you through all the things you got to do to get started with budgeting. So it's a really helpful one if you're getting started. But the key thing to do this time of year, and I do this every year, is that it can be a really good time to realign your spending. You might have spent a bit more in December than you were planning to with meals and gifts and traveling and things like that. So it can be a really good way to kind of come back to zero, look at your budget if you have one. If you don't have one, create one and tweak it as necessary as well. So for example, you will see in the free template, you know, that I normally categorize expenses, you know, for like travel, rent, income, things like that. But the most important thing to do is to be very realistic with your budget. I often see people going, oh, I want to save, so I'm going to set myself a really like tight budget. But sometimes the thing that kills off the joy in budgeting and hitting your goals is that people set too tight a budget. So track your spending. I'll talk more about that in the video link below for budgeting, but make sure that you track your spending so you know what a realistic weekly grocery spend is for you. And of course, if you want to set yourself a goal to reduce that, you can. But the great thing about having a budget is that you can also set a bit of a budget for the months to come. So the first half or the whole year, if you like. If you know that you have big purchases, longer trips, something like that coming up, budget for it now so it's not a big chunk of money coming up later on and all of that coming out of the one paycheck. Because when we budget, and when we know what our money is doing and when we're friends with our money, then we can make really great things happen. So huge fan of budgeting, and you should be too. Okay, so the very final thing to do to set yourself up for success in the year to come is to meal plan. So either start meal planning if you're not already doing it, or continue or get back to it again if you used to do it. For a lot of us, the holidays, we eat a little bit more, we indulge a little bit more, and it can also affect our budget, which was a previous step. So the thing to do now, it's early January as I filmed this, and we have certainly eaten and enjoyed ourselves a lot, had a lot of desserts, a little bit more wine than we normally have and things like that. So we, both my partner and I are really keen to get back to basics again. So I will link the video below if you're brand new to meal planning, where I show you in detail how I do it. But essentially, if you're not new to the channel, you would have seen this before. My very, very simple weekly meal plan usually looks like this. We intermittent fast in the morning most days, so we don't have breakfast, so I meal plan for lunch and for dinner. If you're brand new to meal planning, start by just meal planning dinners and winging it for lunch. But this really, really helps us manage our budget, manage our week. We do eat the same thing about 2 days in a row sometimes. But the interesting thing about meal planning is that it just helps remove a step in your life that you otherwise have to deal with. And because we meal plan and we share the cooking, we share the grocery shopping, I normally only really have to cook like 2 or 3 times a week, which is the right amount of cooking for me. So those are the 3 simple things that you can do. And I bet if you sat down and did your theme, your top line budget, and your weekly meal plan, that would take you less than an hour. Might take you a little bit longer with budgeting the very, very first time, but to be honest, it is something that is so well worth doing that if you're not doing it yet, you're really missing out on giving yourself some amazing opportunities to spend money where you want to spend money and knowing where it goes. So I am really excited also to share that I'm going to be starting to post weekly here in the channel. So if you want to follow along, make sure that you hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss any future videos. 2022 is going to be a big year for all of us, I'm sure, but I'm really looking forward to share that journey with you. And I look forward to see you in my next video.